Welcome everyone to episode 28 of the Edges and Sledges Cricket podcast. It's DJ here from London. I've got my co-podcasters Ashwin here from Cincinnati and Varun here from Singapore as well. Lots to talk about this week in the world of cricket. The Asia Cup's going on. We've had some really great, exciting matches. We've been watching all of them. We've been following all of them. I'm sure you have too as well. So let's get straight into it. Being Indian cricket fans, we've obviously watched the Indian cricket team already play 3 games. The first one was against Hong Kong, the second one against Pakistan, and the third one against Bangladesh. So starting from the top, India versus Hong Kong. India won by 36 runs. Shikhar Dhawan scored 100. Khalil Ahmed took 3 for 48. So India had a winning start to the Asia Cup. But Varun, did you think that this was expected? Hong Kong being the minnows, did India do as well as we were expecting them to do?
Yeah, honestly, we're halfway through the Asia Cup, and I think the best match so far has been India versus Hong Kong, to be very honest. It was a scare for us. Very honestly, the matches are very late for me, Singapore time, so I actually went to sleep thinking, yeah, this is a good Indian victory. At 3 o'clock, my eyes opened. I reached out to get the phone and I saw they needed 55 of 35 or something. And I kind of panicked, thinking, what happens if we lose this and we're playing Pakistan tomorrow? So I think India managed to get off rather across the line. But kudos to Hong Kong. Never expected this. I think their openers, Nizakat Khan, Anshuman Rath. In fact, I read one quote where Anshuman Rath overheard Dhawan and Dhoni talking behind the stumps, where Dhawan walked past Dhoni and said, man, 280 was not enough. We should have been 350. Right? So I think they even called it out to say it was a bit of a bittersweet loss for them. But kudos to Hong Kong. I think India just about scraped through. But I also think India may have taken this Asia Cup a bit lightly if they didn't have that early scare. So all around, it worked out well by the end of it.
Ashwin, any thoughts about the new left arm on the same Khalil Ahmed? He picked up 3 for 48 on debut.
Yeah, I mean, it was great to watch him bowl. It was a working day for me, so I watched the highlights later. But before that first wicket, you always felt like it was coming, and that's what's really good to see with a bowler, right? I mean, we saw with Shami in the Test series, he had some of his best spells where he got no wickets. With Khalil, it was nice to see he got rewarded with the wickets, but it always felt like he was probing, he was pushing hard. He apparently spent a lot of time one-on-one with Zaheer Khan in the last 6 months or so, and that's been a sort of individualized coaching session for him, if you will. So exciting to see him on the scene. I don't honestly know how I feel about us giving him one game, letting him pick up 3 for 48, and then dropping him in the next one. So that goes back to the conversation we've had many times about chopping and changing. That part surprises me. I was separately very happy to see the chop of Shardul Thakur, which we can talk about later. But I feel bad for the guy, for Khalil being dropped, but I understand why. But overall, good to see left arm pace coming into the Indian side. We haven't had that in a while.
Yes, so incidentally, you spoke about Zaheer Khan. Zaheer Khan as well picked up 3 for 48 on debut. So Khalil Ahmed is emulated his idol in that sense. But I think the best thing after a lukewarm kind of start to the Asia Cup was basically we didn't hear Ramiz Raja have an orgasm on air when commentating. Because, I mean, Hong Kong was hitting a single and Ramiz was losing his mind. He was so excited that Hong Kong might upset India. I don't think he's ever been as excited in his entire life. He was outdoing Danny Morrison's enthusiasm for Hong Kong being able to beat India. So thankfully that didn't happen. So the next match, guys, India versus Pakistan, everyone's been looking forward to it. We've been kind of building up to it on our podcast and on Twitter, and we've been having conversations with other podcasters and Pakistani cricket fans. And a bit of a damn squib, guys. Ashwin, what do you think?
Yeah, a huge disappointment for me. Just to quickly recap what happened, India won it by 8 wickets. Pakistan was dismissed for 162. A couple of batsmen, Babar Azam and Shoaib Malik hit 40s, but otherwise pretty much everybody fell short. And then Rohit and Shikhar had a good opening partnership, finished it off with no real issues in chasing it down in 29 overs. So for me, very disappointing. We'll talk a little bit more later about whether India-Pakistan hype is deserved in 2018 like it was through the 80s, 90s and the 2000s. But I will tell you, I mean, the stat I read was the last 2 matches India and Pakistan have played against each other have been the 2 biggest margins of victory or defeat for the other side, where in the Champions Trophy final, India had their largest margin of defeat against Pakistan, And in this first Asia Cup match, India had their largest margin of victory against Pakistan. And the reality is, nobody likes to see one-sided matches. It's why we were concerned about Hong Kong being in the Asia Cup. We thought it would be one-sided, and they've come and showed us how valuable close matches are for the cricket fan. So very disappointed by the India-Pakistan match. Odds are they'll play twice more. They're definitely playing once more tomorrow on September 23rd. They might play a second time if both teams reach the final, and we just hope they're better matches.
Yeah, thanks. Varun, what do you think the difference was from India's performance in the field from the Hong Kong game and in Pakistan? Was there just a raise in intensity? Was it Bumrah coming back into the team? Was it Rohit Sharma just giving the boys a talk? Was it the trending hashtag Sack Ravi Shastri? What do you think changed the entire momentum of the Asia Cup for India?
I think honestly, the Hong Kong, like I mentioned, it was a wake up call. I think they realized that we got to take this a bit seriously. We are playing back to back games. I think Pandya coming in, of course, he's a permanent fixture in the team. I think Bumrah coming in kind of strengthened the side. So yeah, I think it was just a wake up call. India Pakistan has never taken lightly, but had we cruised to victory against Hong Kong, I think we may have taken it a bit more lightly. I think also the Pakistani team didn't look very balanced to me. Now, I'll be honest, I can't remember what the exact side was for the Champions Trophy, but they looked very weak on the batting lineup, and I think the commentators were saying that as well, right? Sarfaraz Ahmed coming in at number 5 is at least 1 or 2 slots too early for him. So I think they kind of panicked. There was too much talk about their openers doing well. Yeah, and I think Bumrah, basically the difference was that Bumrah was behind the line most of the game.
Most of the game. But was there also... so Fakhar Zaman obviously didn't score, but there was no Mohammad Hafiz and Imad Wasim. And I think those were the 2 big changes on the Champions Trophy, because Hafiz, I think, got 50. Quite an experienced player for Pakistan as well. So I think slightly disappointing. Maybe there was too much talk about Kohli and that was distracting for the Pakistani team, etc. But I mean, tomorrow is another day, and I'm sure the Pakistani team will want to hit back strongly. So what are your predictions, guys, for the next India-Pakistan game? Varun, maybe you can tell us where you think you see tomorrow's game going.
Yeah, so I think it'll still be an Indian victory because of the momentum. But I have a feeling this will be a much more close game than the previous one.
Ashwin?
I hope it will be an Indian victory. I think historically, I have reason to believe it will be a Pakistan victory, and that sets us up for an India-Pakistan final that's much more exciting. So I think Pakistan will come all guns blazing to this match, and they'll take it.
And do you think, guys, that Mohammad Amir will play? Because he's been dropped again in the last game against Afghanistan. So Kohli isn't playing. So do you think Amir has just decided to take a rest and says he can't be bothered to show up? Varun?
I think he will play. I think there's something mentally about him getting a 15 for 3 just a year ago. So I think he will play tomorrow.
Ashwin?
Yeah, I think he will play too. But I think, honestly, Pakistan has to look inward about team selection. I think you mentioned Hafiz earlier. There's no real statistical logic with which you should be playing 4 seamers in the UAE. So I don't know whether they're going to persist with that. I don't know whether they're going to think about a second spinner. I don't actually think they have a second full-time spinner in the squad. So Hafiz is the only option, but then they don't really have a spot in the top 4 or 5 to slot him in. So then do you play Hafiz as a lower down order batsman? I think we saw in the match against Afghanistan, Shoaib Malik's years of experience in big international games is what took them over the line. And I think Hafiz has that same level of experience. So they may be looking to tap into him before the finals roll around.
Yeah, I think Shadab Khan is their other spinner who's injured, right? So they're really struggling, whereas other teams are really banking on their spinners to get them across the line. I think we'll come back to kind of Indian team selection and things a little bit more. But India versus Bangladesh was the next game that we played. And there's been a bit of history between the two teams. You've obviously seen Rohul Hassan and Virat Kohli, the little clip of them saying good morning and good evening to each other. There was that picture of Tuckskin carrying Dhoni's severed head before the last Asia Cup final, which was fairly gross and a bit, I thought, over the top. Then you had Mushfiqur prematurely celebrating when he thought he'd got Bangladesh over the line, and only for Bangladesh to lose that match in the World T20. And then Mushfiqur celebrating on Twitter and getting completely trolled by everyone in India about after India got knocked out of the World T20 by the West Indies. Then you had the Nidahas Trophy, where DK, the main man, turns up, smashes 29 of 8 to take India over the line in that. And then all of Sri Lanka breaks out into like the Nagin dance. So there has been quite a bit of background, quite a bit of feeling that's gone on behind the scenes. India versus Bangladesh. Bangladeshi cricket fans are obviously very passionate, and we've seen that they're in the Middle East. They're supporting their team. The teams had a very great start to the tournament, but I mean, the last game again, they didn't score very many runs. I think they got 172, and India chased them down with 3 wickets down again. So maybe Ashwin, what do you think the big turning point in that was? And I know you're dying to talk about Ravi Jadeja. Maybe you can just talk us through what you think the big points were from the India-Bangladesh game, and then just talk us through the return of Sir Jadeja to the fold.
Yeah, so I mean, I think overall in the game, I think Bangladesh's batting was really short. I think both their openers, Liton Das in particular, have been really weak, and I think they've recalled Sarkar and Imrul to the squad, both former openers who played as recently as last year. So they're clearly realizing their batting has been incredibly weak, and they need to up their game. It's as straightforward as that. They've been pushing for many years to say we're a force on the world scene, we're one of the best Asian sides, and they haven't really brought that to this Asia Cup just yet. And so hopefully they will bring that. But I'll tell you from an Indian perspective, I was excited to see Bhuvi continue to be in the wickets. If you read cricket articles and social media and stuff, he had a subpar outing in the first match of the series, and everybody was just going ballistic on him, saying he doesn't have what it takes. He hasn't been performing at the level he should. I mean, he's a top class bowler. He has been at the helm for a long time for India now. I think just him bouncing back, I think he picked 3 wickets in each of the second and third games. It was fantastic to see. And then, of course, the number 7 slot. We didn't talk about it, but Hardik Pandya had his very scary injury in the second match which was his first match of being recalled, and he was stretchered off the field, and so they decided to fill that number 7 slot with Ravindra Jadeja. Now, I'm a huge fan of him in the Test game. I don't know if I would have necessarily selected him back in the ODI squad, but obviously they read the pitch well, knowing that it was a spinning pitch, and so they had 3 full-time spinners essentially, and Jadhav to slot in with some. So you could have essentially had up to 40 overs of spin. Obviously, great to see him take 4 wickets. It means he'll play that number 7 slot later, but I think in the ODI game for me, the number 7 slot needs to be somebody a little bit more prolific at white ball batting. He's a great bowler. He doesn't need to prove himself with the ball at all, but ideally he can step his game up with the bat.
Varun, what do you think about Ravi Jadeja's new hairstyle? I think the biggest question that we've come across recently is when he had time to do that, because September 21st was when he was playing. He was named in the side only in the 19th of September. So when did he have time to get his hair straightened?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like it was more important to him than, packing his kit, getting his visa sorted out. He got the news and went straight to the barber. But I don't know where he found time for it. But yeah, my only point just to address your first point, one is I don't know where this rivalry has come about from. I don't think any of us have ever thought there has been a rivalry with Bangladesh.
I think Sehwag started it actually. By saying they can't take 20 wickets and declaring when 19 wickets were down.
I think that just pissed them off so much. But yeah, it's amazing how these, I don't know. My personal belief is whoever's working in the PR department of the Bangladesh Cricket Board is doing a fantastic job, right? Because we don't even look that side. They've created this rivalry out of nothing. So yeah, that's one. The second thing for me is, it's been my dream job to kind of join, let's say, the BCCI strategic think tank to understand what goes on, how they get players in, who's going to play at what position, what's the plan for the next 24 months. I think it's all gone out the window for me. I've given up. KL Rahul is sitting on the sides. Kedar Jadhav is back in the team the minute he got fit from an injury, and he's picking up 3 wickets, saying, and himself self-proclaiming that the ball doesn't do anything, I just bounce it and it goes straight. So I think this is really ridiculous. I think Hardik Pandya, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know how he got injured. Jadeja is being flown back. Manish Pandey is sitting on the side. Raidu is eating biryani, not able to cross a yo-yo test, and now batting at number 3 for India. Dinesh Karthik has been playing for 13 years, while you've got young guys sitting outside. Rishabh Pant, the only prolific white ball hitter in India who can hit the 6 in the end, last 10 overs, is playing test matches. So, yeah. So, generally, sorry, guys, I'm a little frustrated. I'm kind of done with discussing the lineup.
No, and Shardul Thakur played the first match in the Asia Cup. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, so I'm just done, man. And I kind of really hope that Rohit and Dhawan get out 10 for 2 in the final. Then let's see what happens, right? You're not
Okay,
solving the
guys,
problem. You're just repeating.
I just want to slow you down because you've had a proper Larry David style rant just now, Arun. So we're going to go through each one of these one by one.
I can't. I'm
KL
lost.
Rahul not playing. Okay, I think we all agree that KL Rahul should bat at 3 for India, with Kohli to follow. The next one is Kedar Jadhav. So we're going to take this slowly. We're going to take this one by one. We know you dislike Kedar Jadhav intensely. But the fact is that he's been one of our most effective bowlers on these wickets. Ashwin,
Boss,
what do you think? Yeah.
I zoom into every ball he bowls. I'm trying to see how much it's moved left or right. I'm trying to see what angle his ball is being delivered. There is nothing, boss. He's just standing there. It could be underarm bowling. It's ridiculous. And he's picking up wickets. Imagine how stupid Bhuvi and Kuldeep and all must be feeling. And he's saying, I don't even bowl in the nets. I should not bowl often. My ball doesn't turn. It just goes straight. He's saying this all himself.
Okay, but I think with his bowling in these two games, even against Pakistan, he bowled he bowled fairly well. So I think he's cementing his spot at number 6. So I think Kedar Jadhav is going to be in our World Cup team, Varun, whether you like it or not, because he's literally the only guy who can bat and can be depended upon in a situation like where Pandya goes down. And Amul has come up with the Hardik Pandya campaign, by the way,
Yeah.
showing him being stretchered off.
I think it's just sad that he has a restriction of 10 overs. Honestly, if he could bowl more, just every alternate over could be Kedar Jadhav. And
He's saying he should be playing test matches.
I think he should play all forms of cricket. Everything possible. Anyway, enough from my side. I think we should move on to the next topic.
I think we should. So we should move on to Ashwin's pet peeve, which is Shardul Thakur. So Ashwin, why don't you talk us through the dropping of Shardul because of a pain in his leg, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed that they gave him enough respect to try to make this look like his leg was hurting or whatever it was. What was it? He was. I mean, yeah, obviously that's what you hear happens in dressing rooms and stuff, right? They decide whether it's like when you get let go of a job, it's like decided to leave to pursue other interests or whatever. You're just doing
like I've had discussions about Shardul's career aspirations, and he has decided to pursue interests outside of bowling in the first match.
Yeah, that is exactly it. I mean, look, he had an average India A series. He did pick up 2 to 3 wickets in every game, and honestly, I don't even know why we're talking about it. His record is horrific. He doesn't have any reason like on paper, and I'm a numbers guy, so I struggle. I struggle with what you're saying, Varun, about Kedar Jadhav, but at least he has the numbers to back it. He averages above 40 with the bat. His economy rate is under 5. He picks up a couple wickets every time he bowls. Shardul has nothing. Like even in list A cricket, his economy rate is 5.5. He averages close to 30. He's not. I mean, there's nothing. He's done nothing to me that justifies it. It's easy to sit here and be armchair critics. I get that, but there's nothing that justifies him playing in the side. In a team where you had Khalil, you have obviously Bhuvi and Bumrah as your strike bowlers. Pace bowling was the reason we all felt okay about the England tour despite the bad scoreline. And yet then ODIs come around and with the white ball you bring in Shardul. It's just unacceptable for me. So I'm happy to see him rested with leg injury.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next leg of the rant, which is no Rishabh Pant, who's the biggest white ball hitter that we have. And guys, in the first game against Hong Kong, after Shikhar Dhawan came back to form against these bowlers again in the white ball game, we scored only 48 runs in the last 10 overs, and Rishabh Pant is sitting in India and improving his wicket-keeping skills for the West Indies test matches. So, I know, Varun, you're a big fan of Pant. What are we doing with him? Are we playing with his future because of MSD and Karthik being in the squad?
Yeah, I think we are. I think we've all discussed this, that we don't think he's going to make an entry before June 2019. I think literally July 15th, 2019 onwards, there is no doubt Rishabh Pant is going to be in the team. But again, it comes back to me of you need to solve for the issue, right? Who is that hitter? Who who is going to get you those runs? I can't remember. I think it was the Hong Kong game. We got 45 runs in the last 10 overs.
Yeah, 40.
Against Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Against Hong Kong, Rashid Khan himself got 57 runs off like 5 overs or something. It's just not acceptable. You cannot get 45 runs in the last 10 overs after you've been 200 for 2 or 200 for 3. So we just keep falling into the same trap. Again, we're halfway through a tournament. The top 2 are winning us every game. I don't know, man. I think it's just frustrating to sit and watch.
And Ashwin, no Krunal Pandya still. So I mean, I don't think he's making it to the World Cup squad either.
Yeah, I definitely not. I think this would have been the chance to bring him in. You have a slot for a number 7 who can bat and spin, and you brought back Jadeja. So of course, if after his brother's injury, if there was a time they were going to bring Krunal in, this would have been it. I think they very clearly said they don't see him. Maybe they see something in the nets. Maybe it's something about the longer format of the game, and they would consider him for T20. My only real exposure to him, transparently, is the IPL. So maybe there's something about his domestic record that's not adding up, but it's pretty clear they're not going to bring him back.
And Varun, your thoughts about Deepak Chahar's entry into the Indian team and also his Insta game?
Yeah, I couldn't figure out his Insta game, to be honest. I think he used the beauty app. He kind of looked like Guru Randhawa. I really wasn't sure who it was when Ashwin sent that image to us. Deepak Chahar, I think we said it previously, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, that I think he's the next Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. I think we said that at the end of IPL. So again, I think it's fine to include him. I think he's not going to play. There's no position for him to look at for the next 1 year. So really no comments there, but he is there. He's somebody to look at for the future. And we know he can bat a bit as well.
Yeah, interesting. So I know we glossed over KL Rahul very quickly, but I think we all feel fairly strongly about him not being part of this playing 11. And there's a great article on Cricinfo. So I think, guys, do go and have a read. It's on our Twitter timeline. It says, how does India solve this conundrum? And the conclusion, as a spoiler, is the same as we said before the England ODIs, that he should bat at 3 and Kohli should drop down at 4, because it's a long 50 overs is a long time, and I mean anything he scores is a bonus. So go have a read of that article. It's got lots of great stats in there. It talks about all the options that India have. So please do have a read. Anyway, I think we can now perhaps move on to the other games that have been going on around the India games. And what a cracker we had yesterday. Afghanistan obviously has been one of the star teams of this tournament. Everything they do seems to turn to gold. They've beaten Sri Lanka. They've beaten Bangladesh. And yesterday they came very close to beating Pakistan. They were on really, really close. So guys, Rashid Khan, is he the new star player? I mean, he can bat, he can bowl, he can field, he can do anything. So, Varun, thoughts about Rashid Khan?
Yeah, I think he's just great. I really think he's the future of cricket, not subcontinent cricket, but world cricket. I think he's absolutely fantastic. Even in yesterday's game, I was reading, I think Shoaib Malik did not hit even a single boundary of Rashid Khan. He attacked everyone else. He just picked up singles and doubles of Rashid Khan. He's only 20, 21 years of age. He's already got the respect from senior batsmen. He can come in and tonk the ball around. Honestly, the game against, I think it was Bangladesh, they didn't look like they were going to get 180. Suddenly they ended up at like 250 odd. So literally Rashid Khan is the future of cricket for me.
Ashwin, thoughts on Rashid Khan?
I mean, nothing more to add other than the fact that when this time around Harsha Bhogle tweeted admiration, he replied respectfully saying, "Thank you, sir." And we were all pretty disappointed. We were hoping for another "thank you, bro." But, if you don't understand what I'm saying, we'll retweet some of the old tweets so you have the context. But, unbelievable cricketer. I think Afghanistan is the only trick they're missing at this point. There's two things. One is they need a couple of really good fast bowlers. They have all the spin in the world. The batting's looking pretty solid. They need a couple of good quick bowlers. And the second is it's just the experience, right? Like they missed a trick in the last game against Pakistan Rashid Khan didn't come into bat at 5 down or even 6 down, I think. And having just come off the kind of form he's in with a little bit of hitting needed, it would have been, for me, it was an obvious choice to promote Rashid a little, just given his confidence. But that's the kind of thing, honestly, will come with time and experience. And it's great to see. I mean, India, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan, Pakistan were on simultaneously, and many people all across social media were actively switching from the boring India-Bangladesh game to watch the exciting Afghanistan game. And I think that's just great for the sport.
Yeah, and whenever Rashid Khan comes on to bowl or comes into the field, something happens, right? I mean, he came on to bowl his second spell and immediately there was a run out because of the pressure he brought with it. So, I mean, definitely a superstar in the international game. He's playing all over the world. And definitely someone to watch out for. And I think the Afghanistan team has done really well. At one point, we were even thinking maybe there'll be an Afghanistan-India final in the Asia Cup, which, I mean, who would have thought that, right? Anyway, guys, before we... Sorry, go on.
I've bet with a friend on that it'll be India-Afghanistan, not India-Pakistan. So I'm one step closer to losing.
What are the permutations? What needs to happen for it to be an India-Afghanistan final? Because I would love to watch that.
Well, basically, India has to win all the next games, and I think the Bangladesh-Pakistan game could come down to run rate if you assume Afghanistan beats Bangladesh.
Interesting. So I think we'll have to wait and watch.
I think if India beats Pakistan, they'll be on 2 wins. So you could India can throw the game against Afghanistan, and that right in theory. You just rest all your good guys, let Afghanistan take that win. And then if Afghanistan beats Bangladesh, you're set. You have 2 wins.
Exactly. You can just rest all your...
We're more likely to lose to Afghanistan than to Pakistan.
No, but I'm saying Pakistan is first. If we beat Pakistan, then it's okay if we lose to Afghanistan. Then give them the match so they qualify for the final.
No, but that's what I'm saying. We will still...
you're saying in the final.
We are more likely to lose to Afghanistan in the final.
In the final. Yeah, this is true.
No, dude. What Ashwin is saying is rest your first 11. Bring in your backup useless guys like Rahul. No, like KL Rahul, Manish Pandey. These are the useless fellows. And then take them out in the final and bring back Kedar.
I think Kedar plays irrespective. Kedar should be captain. Speaking of which, guys, before we wrap it, I had a question to ask both of you. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. What do you guys think about splitting the captaincy between limited overs and test matches? And the reason I'm asking this is, we've all seen how Kohli is on the field, right? It must be exhausting to be Virat Kohli. He's reacting to every ball. He's jumping up. He thinks every ball is a wicket. He's running after every ball. If he's at slip, he's running to fine leg to catch the ball. It's exhausting for the man to be himself. Can we give Rohit Sharma, someone who's a permanent fixture in the one-day and T20 squad, the responsibility of being the Indian captain and allow Kohli to focus on test match captaincy only? Rohit has done well as captain. He scored runs as captain. So I think that is one way of reducing the pressure on Virat Kohli, to my mind. What do you guys think? How do you think Kohli will take this? Ashwin, you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about this on the show before. Kohli brings out his best when he's a leader. So I don't know if anybody is seriously considering it. I think Rohit's a great option for when Kohli starts to continues to be more selective about which matches, which series he wants to play because of his workload. But I think you may see Kohli, unlike what we saw with the Sachin, you may see Kohli the batsman decline if he's not at the helm, and that's just the personality he has. So I think they will recognize that and they'll know they need to keep Kohli at the top of the team.
Varun, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think the day that happens, Kohli himself will go up and say, I wanted this to happen. And that is when it will peacefully work for everyone. I can't remember the last time India had split captains and they were successful either. So I don't know if for India particularly, this works. It has always been a transition question, like Kumble test captain before Dhoni became. It's a very short term. So I don't necessarily think it will work. But also there are lots of theories going around, right? Like, I don't know, clearly I follow different Twitter folks to you guys, but there are lots of funny theories about how Rohit's wife is the one who is encouraging him to stand up against Kohli. Now you see Dhawan's wife and Rohit's wife sitting together in the match. There are pictures being put up saying, where is Anushka Bhabi? Dhawan's wife has just started kind of chilling with Rohit's wife. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. I think I'll recommend some things to follow on Twitter.
I think we'd be interested in seeing those Twitter accounts. But just speaking of that as well, hashtag sack Ravi Shastri. Agree or disagree? Very quickly, Varun.
Yeah, completely agree.
Who replaces him?
I don't have an answer right now, to be honest. And let me think about that. I don't have an answer right now.
Ashwin?
I agree. No? I don't also have, I mean, the answer I would love is our man who is Anil Kumble, actually. I think if
Dravid
is doing unbelievable work with the juniors, man. Look at the kind of pipeline he's building. Let him keep doing it. I think he's doing a great job. I think Kumble would be a great fit. Or then for somebody like a Kohli, you need an overseas coach. So pick up one of the very experienced, whether it's the Moody's or the, Trevor Bayliss or, some of the, or even a Kirsten. Bring in one of these overseas guys to manage Kohli's leadership style. But I think
you know what I would love? I would love to watch Ricky Ponting become the coach for India, because Kohli's obviously modeled himself after Ponting. He's grown up watching Ponting's team dominate world cricket. And there's a very interesting podcast actually about at the rate of Aus Cricket Pod. It's the Cricket Unfiltered podcast, which has talked about Australian cricket and culture and how it's toxic. But Kohli's seen that team dominate world cricket, and I think Ricky Ponting and him would be a great combination. Although there's a theory that Ponting was not a good captain and was not a tactically sound captain, and he was just made a great captain by his bowlers, Vaughan and McGrath. But I think, I think it's either Dravid for me or a foreign coach, as you said.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of quickly what's going on in the world of Aussie cricket, David Warner made his return to club cricket with a century. Steve Smith made 85 of 92 balls. So lots of interesting things to come in the world of Aussie cricket in the next few months we'll be talking about.
Yeah, and we have a tour coming up in the winter as well, so looking forward to that. Anyway, I think that's about all we've got for this week, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, do tweet to us with any questions you've got. Do subscribe to our podcast, leave us a review, leave us a comment, give us any feedback you may have, send us an email, send us a tweet. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, so you can get in touch wherever you like. And the only way we actually spread is by word of mouth. So please make sure you tell your friends, tell your family, tell your co-workers, your colleagues, tell everyone in your neighborhood about Edges and Sledges, the cricket podcast. We are an Indian cricket podcast, so we are going to be talking about things you want to listen about, hopefully. So yeah, it'd be great if you could get the word out there. Thank you very much, and we will see you next week around this time with the final of the Asia Cup, which would have just taken place then. So thanks very much, guys, and see you next week.